welcome back to Samira the Algerian girl. My name is Samira and I love to learn about my Algerian culture and I love to teach people about it too. I love talking about it and I'm so passionate about it, and I hope you guys will learn something new this week. And if you like more content like this, please subscribe and comment down below on if you just want to tell your own experiences on culture shock. And that is the topic today. Before I start talking about what is culture shock, I'd like to say a quick note. Because I'm an educational video channel, I sometimes give my personal information about Algeria, but sometimes I research and I have to source my information. I can't just say a bunch of stuff and not cite where I get the information. So everything I'll be talking about today will be a combination of information from other sources and myself. So I will link everything down below. Anyways, so let's get into this video. Alright, so as I said, we're going to be talking about culture shock. So here's the agenda. We're going to talk about what it is, and we're going to talk about some examples, and then later on in the video, stay tuned, I'm going to talk about my experience, how I experienced culture shock myself, and yeah, so stay tuned for that. Alright, let's talk about what it is, the definition. So, it says here, culture shock is a normal process of adapting to a new culture. Okay, that didn't work. Let me change that. You know, learning through experiences. Okay, here we go. A normal process of adapting to a new culture. Okay, that doesn't work. Let me see why there is a mistake. Oh, that's why. I didn't press the right one. Okay, so this is basically what it is. It is a normal process of adapting to a new culture. I kind of like this definition. I really do. So yeah, that is what it is. Yeah, so it's a normal process and everybody goes through this. Everybody goes through culture shock. I don't think there's one person that has ever traveled and had a culture shock. So this is normal. This is normal for everybody. Alright, so it says here, it is a time when a person becomes aware of the differences and or conflicts in values and customs. So true. So true with it. So true. Like so true. Between their home cultures and the new culture that they're in. It says here, common feelings may be anxiety, confusion, homesickness, and or anger. So this is what I got from this website, which I will link down below in the description. So what it's basically saying is that it's normal to feel shock and feel homesick and feel different and you feel like you're not in a comfortable state and you feel different from everybody else, but that's normal and it's okay to have culture shock. It's a normal thing. It's a normal process of adapting to a new culture. That's the definition. It's normal. So if you've ever been through culture shock, don't worry, it's a normal thing. Trust me, I've been through this myself for my whole life. I've been going to Algeria since I was 4 years old, and I
Okay, so now we're going to talk about some of the examples of culture shock. Now, before I talk about the examples, I just want to quickly say two things. Number one, all the links of the information are in the description down below, so you can go check those links out and get more information. And the second thing I want to say is that there's many examples of culture shock, and you don't have to experience all of them. It could be just some of them, and no two people's experiences are the same. Your friend might experience the new environment, while you might experience the language. So it's never the same, and even for me, every time I go, it's a different experience. So I just want to let you guys know that no experience is the same. No two experiences are the same, and it's okay. People just experience things differently. Anyways, so let's get into this, into the examples. So, what are the culture shock examples? It includes the shock of being in a new environment, meeting new people. That's a pretty interesting one. Eating new foods. That one I definitely experience a lot. Adapting to the new language, foreign language, as well as the shock of being separated from your life. The shock of being separated from the important people in your life, such as family, friends, colleagues, and teachers. As you can see that this source of information is for students. As you can tell, this is for international students, but technically all of the stuff that I just mentioned in this description is true. It is. I mean, honestly, but overall, all these examples are true for me. Some of them, sometimes, yeah. Okay, so coming up next, we're going to be talking about my personal experiences, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to deal with it. And before we get into that, I just want to tell you guys, if you have any questions, please comment down below. And have you guys ever experienced culture shock? And if you have, comment down below as well. Let's get into the last point, my personal experience. Okay, so now let's talk about my personal experience. Let's see. Okay, let's go through this, and then later on we're going to talk about tips on how to deal with it. Now, as I said before, no experiences are the same. I experience all these things differently every time. And it's normal to experience these things. It's nothing to be like, it feels weird. But it's just normal to feel these examples of shock. So, it's okay. So, let's begin. Okay, so the first thing I definitely, the example here is talking about food. Now, I not necessarily new food, but adapting to how the food is prepared, because I eat couscous and tagine all the time, but there's a different bacteria that my stomach is used to. I'm used to the vegetables and meat from Canada. I'm not used to the Algerian food, the Algerian produce and meat and whatever. So when I go over there, let's just spare you the details. Let's just say It takes me 2 weeks to get used to the food over there. Not the food itself, what's in the food. The bacteria, how it's been made. I definitely experience that every year. Every time, not every year. Every time I go to Algeria. I don't go every year. That's, my family doesn't do that. Okay, so, as well as, eating too much. As you know, Algerians, Arabs, we love to eat. We love to eat, and I'm not used to eating a lot of food. I do like to eat, but in Algeria, it's a little different from my version of eating a lot. It's amazing how different worlds apart I feel like. My aunts and whoever I'm visiting, they give you so much food. It's so incredible. I love it. But sometimes I'm not used to eating so much and I don't want to be rude. So I eat my heart out. And I just love my family and I don't want to hurt their feelings. I really don't. So I just end up eating everything they give me. There was this one time I went to a family member that I didn't know, and man, they live in the countryside, so everything was organic. If you want to know about that story, subscribe and comment down below if you want to know about that experience. So food is generally a big thing in most cultures, and eating a lot is pretty much everywhere. So I'm not used to eating a lot, and it kind of like, you're shocking your system. I shocked my system so much that I wasn't used to it. So I get full easily, so I'm not saying anything negative. I'm just, telling you that I love my family and I love when they give me food. And I don't want to be rude, so I just eat it. And it's always good to be polite, especially hospitality in Algeria is like off the roof. Like, it is off the course. Hospitality in Algeria is number one. Like, you can't go to one person's house and you won't get better treatment. Like, you go to a cousin or an aunt or someone's house, you will be treated so well. And that is why I don't say no. I just eat as much as I can, and that is what you do. It's polite. You don't want to be rude, and yeah. So okay, let's get into the other shock factors. Definitely for a while, getting used to the language, the barrier there. It does take a while for me to come up with a sentence or two, but in my own language I can talk forever. But in another language, it's like I don't even know how to speak. And in English, I can speak forever. I can talk forever. But in Algeria, I don't really speak that much. I have to have my mom to help me. So, of course, that's kind of it gives me a lot of anxiety. Of course, being separated from my bed and everything that I'm used to, and also the time zone, it can really mess up with your system. The sleeping definitely is something, and yeah. So if you want another video on my experience, and we talk about it in a more face to face, comment down below and I will give you that. Okay, so now we're gonna give you some tips. Tips on how to, like, you know, deal with culture shock. Number one is to keep an open mind and know that you're not gonna be shocked. You're not gonna be in that state of shock forever. You will get used to it. You'll get used to the people, get used to the food, get used to the environment, get used to the language. You'll get used to it, especially the language. You'll start hearing it more. You'll start implementing the language into your own vocab. So yeah, that's definitely going to be one of the power tips I would probably give you. That's a pretty important one to keep in mind.